guys, and welcome to China Perspective. My name is 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗀 𝗧𝗵, and you may know me as a German recruiter in Asia. Today, I want to talk about a topic of the future that is already here, the AI industry in China. Guys, today's video is going to be a little bit on the technical side and a little bit longer than usual, so please bear with me. In early 2025, a previously unknown Chinese startup named DeepSeek launched DeepSeek-R1, an open source large language model that made global headlines. The unexpected breakthrough ignited an intense debate. Was this a fleeting success, or has China truly asserted its place as a formidable competitor in the global AI landscape? Western firms around ChatGPT and others were surprised, to say the least, and slightly unhappy that the Chinese version was open source. Now, in May 2025, we can already see that DeepSeek's achievement wasn't an isolated event. Rather, it reflected years of groundwork that has shaped China's AI ecosystem, strategically fostered through academic research, talent cultivation, innovation under some constraints, and fierce internal competition. In fact, China's AI sector is experiencing unprecedented growth, fueled by government initiatives and private sector innovation. What you see today is nothing compared to what is already in the pipeline. So let's look at this in a little bit more detail to see who the key players are, what the major trends are, and what the main difference between China's AI strategy and the AI strategy of the United States is. Let's get started with point number one, China's AI ecosystem in 2025. The growth of China's AI industry has been quite remarkable, actually, with over 237,000 new AI-related companies established in the first half of 2024 alone, bringing the total to approximately 1.67 million, according to corporate data provider 𝗙𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗏. However, this rapid expansion is not without challenges. A recent report by Financial Times, citing Chinese media TMT Post, highlights a significant mortality rate amongst these startups. Nearly 80,000 AI companies have either shut down or suspended operations within the past 600 days. But let's keep in mind, however, that a high failure rate is not at all unusual for new companies. If I remember correctly, only 1 in 10 startups make it, the other 9 will fail. This is in part because despite a strong growth, the competitive landscape is extremely fierce, like everything in China, really. We call China the gym of the world for companies for a reason. And sustainability remains a critical concern for new entrants in China's AI ecosystem. China's AI industry today is a colorful mix of established tech giants, rising startups, and specialized companies pushing innovation in niche areas. So here are some major tech giants whom you have surely heard about. We have Baidu, we have Alibaba, we have Tencent. I am sure you've heard about them no matter where you're from or where you're watching this video. These three continue to dominate China's AI sector, investing heavily, and I mean heavily, into research and development. Alibaba focuses on integrating AI into consumer devices and platforms globally. There's also a famous company called SenseTime. It is a leader in computer vision, and SenseTime has been a major contributor to China's so-called 100 model battle since 2023. The large landscape brought about a wide range of AI models for different applications and different customers. For example, we all know DeepSeek. Everybody knows DeepSeek, and it made a splash earlier this year when it was unveiled. And I don't know a single person in China, including myself, who does not have DeepSeek on their phone. It is known for its cost-efficient large language models and reinforcement learning breakthroughs. DeepSeek really has narrowed the gap with OpenAI despite US chip sanctions. There's a saying in China that basically says each sanction that America makes China just learn how to do it themselves. Another interesting side note, if you don't know, in China we like to give everything a beautiful name, sometimes a little bit a dramatic name that sounds like it invites destiny. So there's a phrase that says the 6 tigers of AI, which are basically 6 companies. So you have 𝗔𝗂𝗄 AI, Moonshot AI, Minimax, Byte-Run Intelligence, StepFun, and 01 AI. And they are considered to be at the top of China's AI industry today and count alums from US and Chinese tech giants, just as Google or Huawei amongst their talent. Many of them come from universities. For example, 2 of them come from Tsinghua University background, which is also a very famous university in China, if you don't know. And I will highlight a few companies who have drawn from this talent pool throughout this video. Minimax, for example, is a company that specializes in consumer-facing AI applications like 𝗀𝗏𝗄𝗃, an avatar chatbot app with over 28 million users monthly worldwide. 𝗀𝗏𝗃 allows users to chat with various characters, including celebrities and fictional characters. According to the South China Morning Post, 𝗀𝗏𝗃 was removed from the US App Store in December last year, citing technical reasons. Do with that reason whatever you want. And there's 𝗹𝗏, a company that is known for foundational AI models and artificial general intelligence. 𝗹𝗏 has launched multimodal systems like 𝗹1V and 𝗔𝗵𝗶. The company ranks very high amongst competing models and was founded by Mr. Jiang Daqing, a former senior vice president of Microsoft. And then we have 𝗔𝗜 AI. This is also one of the 6 tigers of AI, focusing on large language models and video generation tools by navigating US export restrictions. Already back then, the Biden administration put it on a restricted trade list due to accusations of aiding Chinese military. It is one of those founded via the Tsinghua University in Beijing that I just mentioned. Next is Bytron Intelligence. That is another one of the tigers, focusing on healthcare and domestic applications with open source models like Bytron 7B and Bytron 13B. And finally, we have Moonshot. They have developed something called 𝗏𝗵𝗶𝗽. That's a chatbot optimized for long text context, widely used by mainly students and professionals. This one also comes out of Tsinghua University. So this company is valued at $3.3 billion and is backed by some of China's largest tech firms, including Alibaba and Tencent. Besides those 6 tigers, we have also what is called specialized AI companies. For example, Cambricon Technologies, who develops AI chips crucial for China's big goal of self-sufficiency in the semiconductor technology. This is a partially state-owned, at the same time publicly listed Chinese technology company, and the headquarters is up in Beijing. So if you don't know it, I guess you can compare it a little bit to NVIDIA. Next is iFlyTech. They specialize in voice recognition technology used in consumer and business applications. This company is actually not new and has been around for quite some time, more or less 25 years, but they got recognized by the government as an AI champion in 2018. They decided to move their global headquarters to Hong Kong last year, which nowadays can be considered as a smart move with the overall geopolitical situation that we have. Also of note is Mengvi and CloudWalk. Those are leaders in image recognition and computer vision applied to security and smart city projects. They do a lot of facial recognition software. As E2 Technology, it's another company that's focusing on healthcare solutions powered by AI. Mengvi Technology, CloudWalk Technology, SenseTime, and E2 Technology have long been known as the 4 AI dragons. That is another beautiful, beautiful name given by the Chinese after the 6 tigers we just talked about. Also of note is a company called Infinigence. So the name is combining infinity and intelligence. They innovate heterogeneous computing clusters to optimize training amid global chip shortages. Now to part 2. What are the key trends and investments? The market size of China's core AI industry reached 508 billion RMB. That's about $70 billion in 2025, and it's expected to increase further. So that's a lot. At least, it sounds like a lot. But to put it in perspective and to show you how incredibly large the economy is, a comparable industry would be the low altitude industry, like drones and general aviation and related. Industries, however, which are strong industries, automotive, steel, manufacturing, or professional services surpass this number by far. But that also means that there's so much further growth to be expected, and the government is heavily, heavily investing in it. In fact, the AI landscape in China is shaped by several major trends, and this is pushing growth. First, we have generative AI expansion as one of the main trends. So generative AI applications are transforming industries like IT, manufacturing, healthcare, and R&D. If you're unclear about what the definition is, so Gen AI basically is a model that can create new content such as text, images, audios, or videos based on the data it's been trained on, what you put in. It learns patterns from large databases and uses this knowledge to generate novel outputs in response to the prompt of the user. Also important to know is that companies are investing heavily in infrastructure, such as computing power hubs, cloud platforms, and data management systems. Another trend that we see is the fostering of domestic capabilities and global competitiveness. In response to an escalating technology restrictions, particularly the US export controls on advanced semiconductors initiated in 2022, Chinese firms have intensified efforts to bolster their domestic capabilities. This is again where we say that every time the US tries to limit Chinese growth, the Chinese just find a new way around. There are three main areas where China has been focusing on domestic growth, which have made global waves. So first, we have the advancement in domestic chip development. For example, Huawei has made significant strides in AI chip production. By early this year, so early 2025, the company improved its production yields of advanced AI chips to nearly 40%, a notable increase from 20% the year before. This progress supports China's ambition to develop its semiconductor and technology industry amid US export restrictions. Huawei's Ascend 910C processors, which outperform the previous 910B model, have become profitable, with plans to increase production up to 100,000 units within this year. Alongside Huawei, other companies such as SenseTime or Xiaomi are heavily invested in chips development. We spoke about these companies just a few minutes ago. Another trend which is very important is the open source AI models as a strategic response. So in addition to the hardware advancements, Chinese tech companies have embraced open source AI models to circumvent technological limitations. DeepSeek and other major firms, including Alibaba, Baidu, Tencent, have released very sophisticated AI models that are free to download, modify, and integrate. This approach allows China to bypass US sanctions, decentralize AI development. By making AI widely accessible here in China, China challenges the current monetization strategies of the US AI companies, which maintain exclusivity through paid subscription and enterprise deals. As far as I know, for example, ChatGPT is still loss-making big times. And finally, we have the leveraging of older generation chips. So cost-efficient models paired with large-scale adoption make China a serious competitor in the global race, which, to be honest, these days is mainly between the US and China. To further mitigate the impact of export controls, Chinese AI startups have focused on developing models optimized for older generation chips. So, for example, DeepSeek has developed large language models that are capable of running efficiently on less advanced hardware. This strategy enables the deployment of competitive AI solutions without relying on cutting-edge semiconductors, effectively sidestepping restrictions on high-end chip imports. Another trend that I'm sure you have heard shining through everything I've said today is that there's extremely strong government support and market growth. So the Chinese government actively supports AI development through policies like the AI Plus initiative, subsidies, and R&D funding. The topic of artificial intelligence has stood out at meetings and press conferences during China's annual 2 sessions just a couple of weeks ago here, and is painting a broader picture. So China is rapidly evolving into an AI supermarket with the application of frontier technology integrated into a wide range of sectors in this economy. They are vowing to advance the AI Plus initiative, and a government work report submitted at the National Legislature's session pledges to support the extensive application of large-scale AI models and to vigorously develop new generation intelligent terminals and smart manufacturing equipment, including intelligent connected new energy vehicles, AI-enabled phones and computers, and intelligent robots. So according to a Goldman Sachs research report in February this year, 2025, the widespread adoption of AI over the next decade could drive a 2.5% annual increase in the overall earnings of Chinese equities. Additionally, improved growth prospects combined with a potential confidence boost that are expected to lift the values of Chinese stocks by somewhere between 15 to 20% may attract portfolio inflows exceeding $200 billion. China's development model, strategically encouraged by government policies, has proven very, very effective across various emerging sectors, including electric vehicles, solar, and wind energy. So we would all be very well advised to believe they're pushing this through as well. That brings us to part 3, China versus US AI strategies, and ta-ta-ta-tam, the big showdown. What are the different strategic focus areas? So in China, AI is central to national plans like the New Generation Artificial Intelligence Development Plan, the Made in China 2025 plan, emphasizing self-sufficiency and national security. A lot of that is government-driven. In the US, a market-driven approach led by private companies with initiatives like the Stargate project aiming to maintain global dominance. And so how about data access regulation? The approach is different. So in China, it is more centralized, with the government including comprehensive national regulations like the Network Data Security Management Regulation, which came into effect, I think, January 1st this year, 2025. Also, the scope of regulation takes a much broader approach, covering important data that could affect national security, economic stability, and technological progress. In the US, however, it is decentralized, so there are various state-level privacy laws emerging in addition to federal regulations. This creates a fairly complex patchwork of regulations that companies must navigate. Also, the scope of regulations is different and focuses on specific sectors, for example, healthcare, and types of data, for example, personal information. And so the next question is, where is funding and investment coming from? In China, over $1.5 trillion has been allocated for R&D, infrastructure development, and acquisitions. In the US, we see the private sector dominating funding with strategic government support for high-impact research areas. There's also a state versus market approach. China's government directly funds mega projects while subsidizing chip purchases and infrastructure development. The US, on the other hand, relies on private investments, complemented by targeted federal programs. To give you an idea about the scale of the investment, estimates by Goldman Sachs say that the Chinese companies are expected to increase capital expenditures by somewhere around 38% this year in 2025 to build up infrastructure for semiconductors, cloud servers, and telecommunication systems. So that's from a Goldman Sachs report. Between 2013 and 2024, China's central and local government venture funds injected over $912 billion into strategic industries, with AI-focused companies receiving nearly a quarter of this investment. Between the year 2000 and 2023, 4,115 AI firms received investments from both the government and private VCs. 71% of those were funded first by public VC funds. In China's low-information business environment, government VC funds who have access to exclusive information may act as signals for private VCs to follow. So you can refer to a Stanford Center of China's Economy and Institutions report for further details here. Let's look at the geographic distribution within the country. In China, there is distributed funding beyond major tech hubs to inland regions to reduce disparities, but of course there are still clusters that develop and stick out. In the US, it concentrates primarily in Silicon Valley and the Boston area. And now on to something that you know is very close to my heart. I'm a headhunter here in China, so I'm very passionate about part number 4, China's AI talent shortage. So despite rapid growth, China faces a significant talent shortage. By the end of this year, 2025, China will need 10 million AI professionals, but can only fill about 10% of positions. By 2030, China's demand for AI professionals is expected to reach 6 million people. However, the domestic pool can provide only 1/3 of the talent. That leaves a shortage of about 4 million or so workers, according to a McKinsey report from May 2023. But China is building its talent pipeline. Over 500 universities have started to introduce AI curricula since 2018, but PhD graduates remain insufficient for cutting-edge research. But let's put it in perspective. So while that sounds like a serious gap, and it is, we also have to understand that China accounts now for nearly half of the world's top AI researchers. So in comparison, just 18% of the leading global researchers completed their undergraduate education in the US US, according to a 𝗵𝗶 study. Only 3 years ago, actually, China contributed roughly 1/3 of the global leading talent pool. So while yes, this is a significant talent shortage to maximize on the full potential of growth in the future, we also have to be realistic and say that this is not better or worse than any other country. No other country has more relevant talent available. So while finding the right talent is always a challenge, this is not the major challenge, at least right now. And this brings us to the last part number 5, and the strategic implementation for global businesses. China's AI industry is rising, and there's very little that will stall it. It would be wise for companies to understand how this will affect you and then seek a win-win situation. I've said it before and I will say it again. No matter where you are, no matter what industry you are in today, no matter what your home market is, sooner or later, either your client or your supplier or your main competitor is going to be Chinese. Closing your eyes and pretending this is not true or complaining about unfair subsidies and government influence does not make this go away and will not protect you from this. And in fact, ignoring this, it's not a wise business strategy. So companies who will be able to cooperate in a beneficial way are the ones who are going to gain benefit in the Chinese going global wave, 𝗀𝗧, we currently face, as well as Chinese existing or expected dominance in future-related technologies. So what can you do? You can explore partnerships and opportunities. Multinational companies must understand and strategically leverage China's growing domestic capabilities through partnerships with local academic institutions and research hubs. Also, be mindful of your talent strategies. Global corporations need agile talent acquisition and retention approaches. The rise of domestic AI talent and a growing preference amongst Chinese AI researchers to remain in China rather than moving abroad signals a significant shift in the global AI landscape that will reshape competitive dynamics. Advice number 3, understand the long-term vision. China's comprehensive investments in AI highlights the country's clear vision and achieving global AI leadership, requiring strategic adaptation from international competitors. Guys, thank you so much, and I hope you found this little dive into China's AI industry useful. I would expect things to change a lot in the next year, so maybe in summer next year, the landscape will already look much more advanced. If you enjoyed this video, please click like and subscribe, as it really helps my channel grow. Bye guys!